You have one close family match, 50% shared DNA. Levi Gaines. Criminal records linked to DNA. Homicide, 1994, Chicago PD.
Triple murder linked to Southside robbery. Suspect, Levi Gaines.
She only wanted to know if she had Caribbean roots. But the DNA kit didn't just reveal heritage, it exposed a killer living under her nose. A 29-year-old social worker from Chicago, Layla Monroe, takes an ancestry DNA test for fun and discovers her estranged father is connected to a 30-year-old murder in the same city. Determined to uncover the truth, she reopens a cold case tied to Chicago's violent past, only to learn that the man she's been avoiding her whole life isn't just hiding secrets, he's hiding bodies. As the truth unravels, Layla faces a terrifying question. Is her father innocent or a monster? And how far will he go to keep the past buried? Themes: family loyalty versus justice, the danger of truth, generational trauma, systemic failures in law enforcement. Before we get into the case file, just a quick note. If stories of hidden motives, dead ends, and unexpected turns are your thing, make sure you're subscribed. Hit the bell so the next mystery finds you first. Now, let's open the file. The small white box sat on her kitchen counter like an unopened secret. Layla Monroe stared at it, elbows propped on the chipped laminate surface, thumb scrolling through her phone as the bright green app reminded her. Activate your DNA COFASTA results. She had bought it on a whim during a late-night Instagram scroll. Everyone was doing it, posting reaction videos of tearful reunions with long-lost cousins, discovering royal bloodlines, or at least confirming they weren't 40% Irish like their mama swore. For Layla, it wasn't about finding family. Family, to her, was a burned bridge. It was about filling in blanks. A mother who'd never talked about the past, a father who disappeared when she was 6, and a gnawing curiosity that had followed her into adulthood like a shadow. She swirled the little plastic tube in her hand, staring at her reflection in the kitchen window. Dark brown skin, curls piled in a messy bun, hazel eyes that made men ask if she had something else in her. Guess we'll find out, she muttered, spitting into the tube and sealing it shut. She dropped the box in the prepaid envelope and slid it into the mail slot before work, feeling a flicker of excitement. 3 weeks later, the email arrived. She clicked the link without thinking. Your ancestry results are ready. Scrolling past the colorful pie chart of West African, Caribbean, and European ancestry, she smiled until a bold alert popped up. You have one close family match. 50% shared DNA. A father. Layla froze. She hadn't spoken to her father in 23 years. She didn't even know if he was alive. The name on the screen said otherwise. Levi Gaines. And under his name, another link. Criminal records linked to DNA homicide, 1994. Chicago PD. Layla's breath caught. She clicked. The screen filled with an old newspaper clipping. Triple murder linked to Southside robbery. Suspect fled before arrest. Still wanted. Her father wasn't just alive. He was a fugitive, and he'd just found her. Layla stared at the screen until her eyes burned. The cheap apartment air felt heavier, like someone had turned off the oxygen. She blinked twice, trying to process what the app had just told her. Levi Gaines. Her father's name might as well have been a ghost story. Her mother never said much except, he left. That's all you need to know. For years, Layla had built a life on that single sentence. She clicked on the old article again, her heart pounding in her ears. On the night of July 16, 1994, 3 men were gunned down during an armed robbery on Chicago's South Side. Police identified Levi Gaines as a suspect after recovering fingerprints and ballistic evidence. Gaines fled before he could be arrested and remains at large. Below the text was a grainy photo. A man with sharp cheekbones, dark eyes, and a trimmed goatee staring, straight into the camera like he dared the world to catch him. Layla leaned back, the chair creaking under her weight. She wanted to laugh, cry, and throw up all at once. The father she'd secretly wondered about every birthday, every Father's Day, wasn't just gone. He was wanted for murder.
Layla! Dad!
You shouldn't have looked for me!
Why? Because you're wanted for murder?
Because now, they'll know where to find me! You shouldn't be out here alone, Layla. Get in your car. Now.
Her phone buzzed, jolting her. A text from her best friend, Simone. S. You working late again? Drinks later? Layla stared at the screen, thumbs frozen. How do you tell someone this? How do you say, turns out my dad's a killer? Want to split some nachos? She shoved the phone face down. She needed answers. Not Google searches, not speculation. Real answers. Her mother wasn't going to give them. Carol Monroe was stubborn as stone. Even in the nursing home now, after the stroke, she barely spoke. And when she did, it was about the weather, the nurses, or gospel songs stuck in her head. Layla opened the DNA again, scrolling to the bottom. There was an option. Message or match. Her thumb hovered over it. She clicked. The text box opened, cursor blinking like a heartbeat. She typed, "Is this Levi Gaines?" Her pulse raced as she hit send. The app confirmed. Message delivered. Seconds ticked by. A minute. 2. Nothing. Layla exhaled, leaning back when her phone vibrated again. A new notification. Levi Gaines replied, "You shouldn't have done that." Layla's stomach dropped. Her hands trembled as she tapped to read the rest. "We need to talk. Tonight, 8 p.m., Jackson Park, by the fountain." Her first instinct was to delete the app, toss her phone in the lake, and pretend this never happened. But curiosity, the same one that made her buy that stupid kit, clawed at her. She looked out the window at the city lights. Jackson Park wasn't far. 10 minutes if she took Lakeshore Drive. Her mind screamed no. Her heart whispered go. At 7:40 p.m., Layla grabbed her keys and a black hoodie. Under the flickering street lamps of Jackson Park, she parked near the edge of the lagoon. The fountain loomed ahead, its water catching the orange glow of dying daylight. The air smelled of wet leaves and something else, anticipation, maybe fear. Footsteps crunched behind her. Layla turned slowly. A man stepped out of the shadows, older than the photo, but unmistakable, same sharp cheekbones, same piercing stare. Gray streaked his beard now, but his presence was like steel. "Layla," he said, voice low, steady. Not a question. A claim. Her throat went dry. "Dad," she whispered. He took another step, hands visible at his sides, as if to say he wasn't a threat. "You shouldn't have looked for me," he said again. "Why?" She shot back, louder than she meant. "Because you're wanted for murder?" His eyes darkened. "Because now, they'll know where to find me." Layla frowned. "Who's they?" A rustle in the trees made her glance back, but when she looked forward again, Levi was gone. Gone. Like smoke in the night. Layla stood frozen by the fountain, heart pounding so hard it echoed in her ears. The night swallowed the sound of Levi's voice, leaving her with nothing but the rustle of leaves and the hiss of the fountain spray. He was gone. Just like that. She turned in slow circles, scanning the tree line, the empty benches, the dark stretch of the path. Nothing but shadows. "Damn it," she whispered under her breath, pulling her hoodie tighter as a sharp wind cut across the park. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. A text. Her heart leaped, maybe him. She yanked it out. Unknown number. "You shouldn't be out here alone, Layla." Layla's breath hitched. Her fingers tightened on the phone. Another buzz. "Get in your car. Now." Her head whipped around. scanning the darkness. What the hell? She bolted for her car, her sneakers pounding against the cracked pavement. The park was too quiet now, too still, except for the pounding of her pulse in her ears. When she reached the car, her hands shook as she jammed the key into the lock. She climbed in, slammed the door, and hit the lock button twice for good measure. For a second, she just sat there, gripping the wheel, chest heaving. Her headlights cut across the park's edge, and that's when she saw it. A black sedan. Parked 2 rows over, engine idling. No lights, no plates. Layla's stomach flipped. She didn't wait. She threw the car into reverse, tires squealing as she peeled out of the lot and shot down Lakeshore Drive. Back in her apartment, she locked the door, deadbolt, and chain. Her hands still trembled as she dropped her keys and collapsed onto the couch. The messages. She opened the thread, staring at the unknown number. It wasn't from the DNA app. This was direct. How did they get my number? Before she could spiral, another buzz. Same number. This isn't a game. Stop digging, or you'll end up like them. Her breath caught. Her thumb hovered as she typed back. Who is this? 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then the reply. Ask your father about 63rd Street. The text ended with something that made her blood run cold. Tick-tock, Layla. She set the phone down like it burned her skin, her mind racing. Who were they? What happened on 63rd Street? And why did she feel like she'd just stepped into someone else's nightmare? She needed to think, to breathe, to do something normal. She shuffled into the kitchen and poured a glass of water, but the sound of ice clinking in the glass felt like a gun cocking in the silence. Then, bang. Layla dropped the glass, water and shards spilling across the tile as she spun toward the door. Another bang, louder, not the door, the window. She crept toward it, heart pounding, and saw something fluttering on the other side of the glass. A paper. With shaking hands, she slid it out from under the latch. A single word was scrawled in black marker. Run. She stumbled back, clutching the note. Her breath came in shallow bursts. Whoever left this had been right outside her window. The street below was empty, silent. But when she glanced at the corner under the lamppost, her stomach dropped. The black sedan was there, still idling. Layla didn't move. Couldn't. The note trembled in her hands like a live wire. Her eyes flicked from the black letters run to the car parked under the street lamp, engine humming low and menacing. She backed away from the window, phone clutched tight. Who the hell were these people? And how did she become a target in a matter of hours? For a second, she thought about calling the cops. Then she remembered. Her father was a fugitive wanted for murder. What was she supposed to say? Hi, my dad texted me from the shadows, and now strangers in a black sedan are threatening me. Can you send a car? Yeah, right. Instead, she grabbed her jacket and her go-bag, the same one she kept packed for emergencies. Though until tonight, an emergency meant a last-minute road trip with Simone. She checked the window one last time. The car was still there, watching. Her building had 2 exits, the front door and the back alley. She slipped her sneakers on, heart pounding, and headed for the fire escape. Every creak of the metal stairs felt like a gunshot in the quiet night. When she hit the alley, she didn't look back, just kept moving, hoodie up, hands jammed in her pockets like any other night jogger. By the time she reached her car 3 blocks over, her nerves were frayed raw. She slid into the driver's seat, locked the doors, and pulled away, checking the mirror every other second. The sedan didn't follow. At least, not yet. Layla drove without thinking, the city lights blurring past in streaks of orange and white. Her mind kept circling one phrase. Ask your father about 63rd Street. She pulled over in a Walgreens parking lot, hands gripping the steering wheel. 63rd Street was South Side. She hadn't been down there since she was a kid. A quick Google search pulled up maps, crime stats, headlines. One caught her eye. 1994 triple homicide still haunts South Side residents. The article was old, archived, but the details made her stomach twist. 3 men killed outside a liquor store on 63rd Street. Suspects believed to be tied to a robbery crew. Police linked the murders to a turf war over stolen drug money. And then there was this. Primary suspect Levi Gaines remains at large. Her father wasn't just accused of killing strangers. He was accused of killing gang members. The kind of men who didn't forgive. The kind of men who had sons, brothers, people who remembered. Suddenly the warning made sense. Stop digging or you'll end up like them. Layla swallowed hard. If Levi was innocent, why run for 30 years? And if he wasn't, what did that make her? Her phone buzzed, making her jump. A new text from Levi. You're not safe. Don't go home. Meet me where the L ends. 95th station. 30 minutes. She stared at the message, heart hammering. Every instinct screamed not to go. To turn the car around, drive out of Chicago, and never look back. But then she thought of her mother in the nursing home. Of the black sedan outside her apartment. Of the note that said run. She started the engine. 35 minutes later, Layla pulled into the far edge of the 95th Dan Ryan Station lot. The area was almost deserted, just the low hum of trains overhead and a scattering of streetlights throwing long, eerie shadows. She parked, fingers tapping nervously against the steering wheel. Seconds crawled by, then movement. A figure stepping out from behind a concrete pillar, coat collar turned up, baseball cap low. Levi. Layla climbed out, hugging her jacket tight. The air smelled of rain and rust. You text like a stalker, she said, forcing her voice steady. Levi didn't smile. His eyes flicked to the lot behind her, scanning. Always scanning. You're being watched. Yeah, thanks for the heads up, she snapped. Mind telling me by who? He hesitated, then jerked his chin toward the far end of the lot. Get in. We can't stay here. Layla glanced at his car, a beat-up silver sedan with tinted windows. Everything inside her screamed no. But the memory of that black car, outside her apartment, screamed louder. She slid into the passenger seat. As Levi pulled away, his jaw tightened, his knuckles white on the wheel. For the first time, Layla noticed the faint scar running down his left hand, like an old blade mark. You asked about 63rd Street, he said quietly, eyes on the road. Yeah, she said. You gonna tell me what happened? His jaw clenched. What happened, he said, voice low, is the reason you were almost killed tonight. Layla's pulse spiked. What are you talking about? Levi's eyes met hers in the dim glow of the dashboard. They're not after me anymore, he said. They're after you. The car's heater hissed softly, blowing stale air, but Layla felt cold to her bones. Levi's words sat heavy in the cramped silence. They're not after me anymore. They're after you. She swallowed hard. That doesn't make any damn sense. I don't know these people. I didn't even know you until you sent that message, he cut in, his voice sharp but not loud. You put yourself on the map, Layla. The second you reached out, every trigger-happy fool who's been watching me for 30 years knew I had a weakness. Weakness? She echoed, incredulous. I'm your daughter, not your leverage, Levi said flatly. His eyes flicked toward her, then back to the road. And in their world, leverage gets you killed faster than a bullet. Layla stared at him, her chest tight. She wanted to scream, to demand answers, but the cold certainty in his tone froze her words. Finally, she rasped, Who are they? He didn't answer right away. The car glided off the main road into a stretch of industrial wasteland shuttered warehouses, chain-link fences topped with rusted barbed wire. The kind of place where screams never carried. They called themselves the Eastbridge Crew back then, Levi said finally, his voice almost drowned by the hum of the engine. But it wasn't just a gang. They moved weight for the big boys New Orleans, Atlanta, and they had people inside the system. Layla's brows knit. So what does that have to do with 63rd Street? Levi's hands tightened on the wheel, knuckles pale against the leather. Because that night, it wasn't just about money. He pulled the car into the shadow of an abandoned loading dock and killed the lights. For a second, all she heard was the tick of the cooling engine and the distant rumble of an L train. Levi turned to her, his face carved in shadows. "They killed my brother," he said. "Left him on the pavement like trash. That's what 63rd Street was about. I didn't kill those men because of a robbery. I killed them because they put a bullet in my blood." Layla blinked, the words hitting like stones. "So you're saying you did kill them?" Levi didn't flinch. "I'm saying I did what the cops wouldn't. I buried them so deep hell couldn't find them." Layla recoiled slightly, her pulse pounding in her ears. This wasn't the answer she'd wanted, maybe not even one she could survive. She tried to steady her voice. "And you think these people what? Want revenge after all these years?" Levi shook his head slowly. "It's not revenge. It's business. There's a new generation running things now, sons, nephews, people who want to make their bones. And when word got out that Levi Gaines has a daughter living nice and clean on the north side," Layla felt her stomach churn. "You're saying they're coming for me to get to you?" His eyes locked on hers. "No," he said grimly. "They're coming for you to wipe me off the map. Make me blade before they put me in the ground." The words settled between them like a curse. Before Layla could speak, a sharp rap on the window made her jump so hard her seatbelt dug into her ribs. Levi's hand moved faster than her eyes could follow, sliding under his jacket, pulling something black and cold. A gun. Layla's breath caught in her throat. Another rap, harder this time. Through the foggy glass, a shadow loomed, broad shoulders, hood pulled low, face hidden. Levi lowered the window an inch. "Say it," he barked. A deep voice rumbled back. "They're here." Levi cursed under his breath and shoved the car into gear. Tires screeched as they tore out of the alley, Layla gripping the door handle with white-knuckled hands. Who the hell was that? She shouted over the roar of the engine. "My eyes," Levi said, swerving hard onto an overpass. "And if he says they're here—" The black sedan appeared in the rearview mirror, headlights flaring like twin demons. Then it's already too late. The black sedan grew larger in the rearview, headlights blazing like predator eyes in the dark. Layla's nails dug into the door handle as Levi gripped the wheel, his jaw like stone. "Seatbelt tight," he said. His voice was calm, almost eerily so, while hers came out in shaky bursts. "Where the hell are we going?" "Out of sight." That's not an answer. Before Levi could reply, the first gunshot split the night. A deafening crack, followed by the spiderweb bloom of shattered glass on the back window. Layla ducked instinctively, heart pounding in her throat. "They're shooting at us." "No, they're saying hello," Levi muttered, jerking the car down a side street so hard Layla's shoulder slammed the door. Another shot rang out, sparking off a dumpster as the sedan roared after them. The south side streets blurred past a maze of boarded-up rowhouses and graffiti-stained walls. Levi took a hard turn onto 61st, the tires screeching, his eyes flicking to the mirror every second. "Get down!" He barked, shoving Layla's head low as another bullet punched through the rear windshield, glass spraying like ice. Layla's breath came in ragged gasps. "Oh my God, oh my God!" "Stay low!" Levi snapped, swinging the wheel into an alley so narrow the side mirrors scraped brick. The sedan followed, engine growling like an animal closing in. Ahead, the alley opened into a dead-end lot fenced dark, littered with trash. Layla's heart plummeted. It's a dead end. Not for us, Levi said, gunning the engine. Before she could ask what he meant, the car slammed through the chain-link fence with a teeth-rattling crash, sparks and metal flying. Layla clung to the seat as Levi burst into another street, cutting off a delivery truck that blared its horn. The sedan was still behind them, closer now. They're not letting up. Layla screamed, her voice cracking. They won't, Levi said, his eyes scanning the road ahead like a predator calculating angles. Not until you're dead or I am. Another shot. This one punched through the trunk with a sickening thud. Levi yanked the wheel left, swerving onto an underpass beneath the Dan Ryan. The echo of tires, the roar of engines, it all crashed into Layla's skull as fear swallowed every coherent thought. Then Levi slammed the brakes. The world jerked forward, Layla's seatbelt biting into her chest as the car screeched to a halt. Behind them, the sedan did the same, tires squealing in protest. "Why are we stopping?" she yelled. Levi's answer was the metallic click of a gun being racked. "Because they wanted a chase," he said, opening the driver's door. "I'll give them a war." "No, Levi, wait." But he was already out, moving low and fast toward the shadows beneath the overpass, gun in hand like it belonged there. Layla fumbled for her phone with trembling fingers, her mind screaming to call someone, anyone. But before she could unlock it, the night erupted in chaos. Gunfire cracked like fireworks, muzzle flashes lighting the darkness in violent bursts. Shadows darted behind concrete pillars. The smell of gunpowder burned in the cold air. "Levi!" she screamed, ducking low as bullets punched holes through the car's doors. A body fell near the sedan, a man in a black hoodie, his gun clattering to the ground. Layla's breath hitched. She had no idea if Levi was alive, or if she'd just watched her father die after knowing him for less than a day. Then silence. A shape emerged from the shadows. Levi, moving fast, his face slick with sweat, his gun still smoking. He yanked the passenger door open, eyes blazing. "Drive," he barked. "What?" "Drive, Layla." Before she could think, before fear could lock her limbs, Layla slid into the driver's seat and slammed her foot on the gas, the tires screaming as they tore away from the carnage under the bridge. Her hands shook violently on the wheel, heart hammering as Levi leaned back, breathing hard, his shirt smeared with something dark blood, but not his. "You okay?" she panted, eyes flicking to him. Levi stared straight ahead, voice low and cold. "They just sent a message," he said. "And now I have to send one back." The city blurred by in streaks of orange and white as Layla drove through the dead of night, hands gripping the wheel so tight her knuckles ached. Her pulse still thundered from the gunfire, from the metallic scent of blood on Levi's clothes, from the image of that body collapsing under the overpass. She swallowed hard. You killed him." Levi's eyes stayed fixed on the road ahead, dark and unreadable. "I did what I had to do." "That's not an answer." Layla's voice cracked, the words trembling out of her throat. "We were supposed to talk." "You were supposed to explain, not." "Stop talking and keep driving," he snapped, sharp enough to cut the air in half. Layla bit her lip and stared straight ahead, anger burning under her fear. But the silence that followed was worse. The hum of the tires, the whisper of cold wind sneaking through shattered glass, it all sounded like death, creeping closer. Finally, Levi spoke, his voice low. "Take the next exit." Layla flicked on the blinker, heart pounding as the car rolled off the highway and onto a dim side street. Block after block of abandoned buildings loomed like hollow skeletons. The only light came from flickering street lamps and the occasional glow of a boarded-up liquor store. "Where the hell are we going?" she whispered. "To see someone who can keep us breathing." They stopped outside a small, faded brick building with no sign, just a dented metal door tagged with graffiti. Levi climbed out without another word, scanning the street like every shadow hid a rifle. Layla hesitated, then followed, hugging her jacket tight against the biting wind. Levi banged 3 times on the door. After a pause, a slot slid open, revealing a pair of suspicious eyes. "Code," the man grunted. "Delta block," Levi said without flinching. The door clicked open. Layla's stomach flipped as she stepped inside. The smell hit first gun oil, stale coffee, and something metallic. The dim interior was cluttered with folding chairs, ammo boxes, and a scarred table littered with maps. A woman sat at the table cleaning a handgun, her long braids hanging over one shoulder. Her eyes lift and froze on Layla. "This her?" the woman asked, voice calm but laced with steel. "This is my daughter," Levi said. The woman's brow furrowed. "You brought her here? You out of your damn mind?" "Had no choice," Levi replied. "They came for us." The woman set the gun down and stood, moving like someone who'd survived wars most people didn't know existed. She walked to Layla, eyes scanning her like a blueprint. "You don't know what you just stepped into," she said flatly. "I didn't step into anything," Layla shot back, her fear curdling into defiance. "Your people dragged me here." The woman almost smiled. "You've got a mouth. That's good. You'll need it." Layla frowned. "Need it? For what?" "For staying alive when every soul south of 79th wants you dead." The words slammed into Layla like a fist. She turned to Levi. "I need answers. Now, why me? Why them? And what the hell is going on with 63rd Street? Levi exhaled slowly, running a hand down his face. Then he looked at her, really looked at her, with something that almost resembled pain. "You were never supposed to know this," he said quietly. "But the reason they want you dead isn't just because of me." Layla's breath caught. "Then why?" Levi's jaw tightened. "Because your name is on something I stole. Something they've been hunting for 30 years. Layla blinked. "My name? What the hell are you talking about?" Levi stepped closer, lowering his voice like the walls had ears. "A safety deposit box in New Orleans. Inside it, a key. And a ledger worth more than $100 million. Layla's chest constricted. Her words came out barely a whisper. "What does that have to do with me?" Levi's eyes locked on hers. "Because, baby girl." He pulled a folded piece of paper from his jacket and placed it on the table. "It's in your name." Layla stared at the paper, an old bank document yellowed with age. Her name printed in bold letters across the top. She stumbled back, her pulse roaring in her ears. "Why? Why would you?" The woman by the table suddenly stiffened, her hand sliding to the gun. "Levi," she hissed. "They're here." Before Layla could ask, the windows exploded inward, showering glass like diamonds as bullets ripped through the air. Levi grabbed her, yanking her to the floor as the walls lit up with muzzle flashes and the thunder of gunfire swallowed the night. Glass rained down like shards of ice as Layla hit the floor, her arms instinctively covering her head. The sound of gunfire cracked through the night, deafening in the small room short bursts, rapid pops, the hollow thud of bullets punching into walls. "Stay down." Levi barked, his voice slicing through the chaos as he rolled toward the overturned table, dragging Layla with him. The woman with the braids, Levi, had called her Tony, snatched up her gun in one fluid motion and dropped low, firing back through the shattered windows. The muzzle flashes lit her face like lightning, sharp and unyielding. 2 shooters, maybe 3. She yelled over the noise. "Front and east side." Layla's chest heaved. Her heart slammed so hard she thought it might tear free. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. A few hours ago, she was worrying about late rent. Now she was crouched behind an old table while strangers tried to kill her. Another spray of bullets tore through the drywall, inches above her head, showering her with dust. Layla bit back a scream, her body trembling so violently she thought her bones might shake apart. Levi shoved a pistol into her hands. "This her?" the woman asked, voice calm but laced with steel. "This is my daughter," Levi said. The woman's brow furrowed. "You brought her here? You out of your damn mind?" "Had no choice," Levi replied. "They came for us." The woman set the gun down and stood, moving like someone who'd survived wars most people didn't know existed. She walked to Layla, eyes scanning her like a blueprint. "You don't know what you just stepped into," she said flatly. "I didn't step into anything," Layla shot back, her fear curdling into defiance. "Your people dragged me here." The woman almost smiled. "You've got a mouth. That's good. You'll need it." Layla frowned. "Need it? For what?" "For staying alive when every soul south of 79th wants you dead." The words slammed into Layla like a fist. She turned to Levi. "I need answers. Now, why me? Why them? And what the hell is going on with 63rd Street? Levi exhaled slowly, running a hand down his face. Then he looked at her, really looked at her, with something that almost resembled pain. "You were never supposed to know this," he said quietly. "But the reason they want you dead isn't just because of me." Layla's breath caught. "Then why?" Levi's jaw tightened. "Because your name is on something I stole. Something they've been hunting for 30 years. Layla blinked. "My name? What the hell are you talking about?" Levi stepped closer, lowering his voice like the walls had ears. "A safety deposit box in New Orleans. Inside it, a key. And a ledger worth more than $100 million. Layla's chest constricted. Her words came out barely a whisper. "What does that have to do with me?" Levi's eyes locked on hers. "Because, baby girl." He pulled a folded piece of paper from his jacket and placed it on the table. "It's in your name." Layla stared at the paper, an old bank document yellowed with age. Her name printed in bold letters across the top. She stumbled back, her pulse roaring in her ears. "Why? Why would you?" The woman by the table suddenly stiffened, her hand sliding to the gun. "Levi," she hissed. "They're here." Before Layla could ask, the windows exploded inward, showering glass like diamonds as bullets ripped through the air. Levi grabbed her, yanking her to the floor as the walls lit up with muzzle flashes and the thunder of gunfire swallowed the night. Glass rained down like shards of ice as Layla hit the floor, her arms instinctively covering her head. The sound of gunfire cracked through the night, deafening in the small room short bursts, rapid pops, the hollow thud of bullets punching into walls. "Stay down." Levi barked, his voice slicing through the chaos as he rolled toward the overturned table, dragging Layla with him. The woman with the braids, Levi, had called her Tony, snatched up her gun in one fluid motion and dropped low, firing back through the shattered windows. The muzzle flashes lit her face like lightning, sharp and unyielding. 2 shooters, maybe 3. She yelled over the noise. "Front and east side." Layla's chest heaved. Her heart slammed so hard she thought it might tear free. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. A few hours ago, she was worrying about late rent. Now she was crouched behind an old table while strangers tried to kill her. Another spray of bullets tore through the drywall inches above her head, showering her with dust. Layla bit back a scream, her body trembling so violently she thought her bones might shake apart. Levi shoved a pistol into her hands. "Take it." Layla stared at the cold metal, her fingers refusing to curl around it. I can't." "You don't have a choice," he roared, eyes blazing. "You freeze now. You die now. Understand?" Her breath came in shallow bursts. She wanted to throw the gun across the room, but her hands clenched it anyway, slick with sweat. Tony dropped another magazine into her weapon, teeth clenched. "They're moving in. 10 seconds, maybe less." Levi leaned close, his voice low and fierce against the chaos. Listen to me, Layla. When that door blows, you aim center mass and you pull the trigger. Don't think. Don't blink. Just live. Before Layla could answer, the door exploded inward with a thunderous crack, splinters flying like shrapnel. 2 masked men stormed in, rifles raised. Everything slowed. The first man swung his weapon toward Lviv. Then his chest erupted in a burst of red as Tony's shot ripped through him. He crumpled, lifeless. The second man pivoted, gun aimed at Layla. Time fractured. Her breath froze. Her finger moved before her mind could stop it. The gun kicked hard, a deafening blast tearing through the room. The man's body jerked back, his weapon clattering to the floor. Layla stared, her ears ringing, the pistol trembling in her hands. The man lay sprawled, blood blooming beneath him like an ink stain. "Oh my God," she whispered, the words strangled. I killed him." "No," Levi said, crouching beside her, his voice firm but almost gentle. "You survived him." Before Layla could process, the pounding of footsteps shook the floorboards. More were coming. Tony cursed under her breath. "We can't hold this spot. Too many." Levi grabbed Layla's arm, hauling her toward a steel door in the back. "Move." They crashed through into a narrow hallway lined with peeling paint and flickering bulbs. Behind them, the safe house erupted in another wave of gunfire shouts. Boots, the metallic smell of death following like a shadow. "Where the hell are we going?" Layla gasped, her legs burning as they sprinted through the claustrophobic passage. "Out the back," Levi said, shoving through a rusted exit door into an alley slick with rain. A black SUV waited with its engine running, headlights dimmed. A man in a hoodie leaned out the driver's window, eyes darting. "You're late." "Drive," Levi barked, shoving Layla into the back seat before climbing in himself. Tony slid in after them, slamming the door just as gunfire shredded the bricks behind them. The SUV fishtailed out of the alley, tires screeching as the city lights blurred once more. Layla slumped against the seat, chest heaving, the weight of the pistol still heavy in her hands. Her mind reeled, images crashing into each other's shattered glass. Blood on the floor, the man's body jerking under her shot. Levi watched her, his expression unreadable. "First time pulling a trigger?" Layla's voice cracked. "First time taking a life." Levi's jaw tightened, but his tone soft just enough to cut through the chaos. "You didn't take anything, Layla. You just kept what was yours." She turned to him, anger and terror tangling in her throat. "And what the hell is mine, Levi? A death sentence? $100 million I didn't ask for." His eyes met hers, steel and sorrow all at once. "What's yours," he said quietly, "is the truth. And it's about to burn this whole city down." The SUV roared down the wet streets, and for the first time, Layla realized something bone-deep and terrifying. There was no going back. Rain lashed the windshield in silver streaks as the SUV sped through Chicago's South Side. The rhythmic wipers did nothing to steady Layla's racing pulse. Her hands still tingled from the recoil of the gun, the metallic tang of gunpowder lingering in her throat like a bitter aftertaste. In the back seat, Levi sat like a coiled spring, his pistol resting across his lap, his eyes locked on the black void of the rear window. Beside him, Tony reloaded with calm precision, brass casings clinking softly as she slipped them into the magazine. Layla couldn't take the silence any longer. "Someone tell me what the hell just happened," she said, her voice trembling but sharp. "Because last I checked, I was supposed to be figuring out if I had Caribbean roots, not in the middle of a damn shootout." Levi's eyes flicked to her, hard and unblinking. "You're alive." "That's what happened." "No," Layla shot back, anger cracking through fear like lightning. "Alive is a state of being, not an explanation. You said they're after me because of some ledger. start talking. The SUV hit a pothole, jarring her teeth, but she didn't break her stare. Levi exhaled slowly, like a man peeling off old scars. In '94, when my brother was killed, I thought it was just street politics, a hit for a hit, but it wasn't. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, his voice dropping low. The Eastbridge crew wasn't just pushing dope. They were moving money, big money off the books for some. Heavy names, judges, cops, politicians, people you see smiling on TV. Layla blinked. You're telling me this was about corruption? Not just corruption, Tony cut in, her tone edged with steel. Control, that ledger your name's on, it's not just numbers. It's receipts, dates, amounts, names of every bastard who got paid to keep the machine turning. Layla's stomach twisted. And you stole it. Levi nodded once, his jaw set. Took it the night they killed my brother. Thought I could use it to burn them down. Problem was, he let out a bitter laugh. I underestimated how far rot spreads. Why put it in my name? Layla's voice cracked, raw with disbelief. Because they'd never look for you, Levi said quietly. You were 6 years old, living clean. If I died, it was insurance. My way of making sure they couldn't bury the truth. Layla stared at him, 100 emotions clawing up her throat rage, grief, betrayal. You didn't give me a choice, she whispered. You turned me into a target before I could even spell my own name. Levi's gaze didn't waver. And now I'm going to make sure you live long enough to hate me for it. The SUV jerked suddenly, tires squealing as the driver slammed the brakes. Layla pitched forward, her shoulder slamming the seat in front of her. What the hell? Roadblock? The driver snapped, his voice taut. 2 black SUVs, no plates. Levi yanked the slide on his gun with a metallic click. Tony mirrored him, her eyes sharp and ready. Who? She hissed. Levi's jaw tightened. Not cops. Through the rain-streaked windshield, silhouettes emerged, men in dark jackets, moving like soldiers, weapons glinting under the streetlights. Layla's chest seized. What do we do? Levi looked at her, calm and cold, the storm outside burning in his eyes. We survive. Then he leaned forward to the driver. Punch it. The engine roared as the SUV shot forward, tires screaming against the wet pavement. Behind them, gunfire erupted like a thunderstorm. Layla gripped the seat as rounds slammed into the frame, sparks flying. Her screams drowned in the roar of engines, a staccato crack of rifles, the howl of the storm, and one truth that burned through it all. There was no going back. Rain slammed against the windshield like nails as the SUV fishtailed down the slick street. Bullets sparked off the asphalt, punching into the rear bumper with a sound that made Layla's teeth clench. Hold on. The driver yelled, swerving hard into a narrow side street lined with boarded-up row houses. The engine roared, the tires screaming against the wet pavement. Layla clutched the headrest in front of her, her knuckles white. Every nerve in her body screamed, this is how you die. Keep your head down, Levi barked, shoving her low against the seat. He popped his door open, just enough to fire 2 shots behind them. The flashes lit the cab like lightning, his jaw clenched tight. 2 on our tail, Tony said, twisting in her seat with the precision of a sniper. She squeezed off a burst from her Glock, the shell casings bouncing across the floor mat. The black SUVs were relentless, engines growling, lights glaring through the rain. One swerved close, trying to force them into a parked car. Move, 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 Levi barked. The driver yanked the wheel hard, the SUV slamming into a trash bin and scattering debris as they sped past. A voice crackled over a radio from the other vehicle, sharp, commanding. Layla couldn't make out the words, but the tone chilled her to the bone. Whoever these men were, they weren't amateurs. Left up ahead, Levi ordered. The driver jerked the wheel into a tight turn straight onto a block swallowed in darkness. No streetlights, no traffic, just wet pavement glistening under the faint glow of the moon. The first SUV barreled after them. The second cut them off from behind. "Oh, hell no," Tony muttered. Gunfire exploded. The back window shattered inward, glass slicing Layla's arm. She cried out, clutching the bleeding cut as Levi cursed and returned fire, muzzle flashes strobing the cab in bursts of orange. "Go, go, go," Levi roared. But it was too late. The lead SUV screeched sideways, blocking the road completely. Their driver slammed the brakes, tires shrieking. The world jolted violently, metal groaning as the SUV skidded to a bone-rattling stop. "Out!" Levi barked. Layla's door flew open. Cold rain slapped her face as Levi hauled her out, shoving her toward a narrow alley. "Run! Don't stop until I say." She stumbled into the alley, her sneakers splashing through filthy water, her breath burning in her throat. Behind her, chaos erupted, gunfire cracking like thunder, men shouting in clipped commands. Then came the sound that froze her blood, a scream. Sharp female. Layla spun just in time to see Tony drop to her knees near the SUV, blood blooming across her chest like a crimson flower. Her gun clattered to the pavement as her body collapsed in the rain. "No!" Layla's voice tore from her throat. She bolted toward her, but Levi caught her mid-stride, his arm like a steel bar across her chest. "She's gone," he shouted over the storm, his voice raw. "Move, Layla, move!" Tears blurred her vision as Levi dragged her backward into the shadows. Gunfire flared like lightning in the distance. Boots pounded against wet concrete. They darted through the maze of alleys, splashing through puddles, hearts slamming in sync with the staccato rhythm of bullets behind them. Every turn felt tighter, darker, like the city itself was closing in to swallow them whole. Finally, Levi shoved her into the recessed doorway of an abandoned building, his breath ragged, rain dripping off his jaw. "Stay here," he ordered, eyes scanning the mouth of the alley like a wolf scenting blood. Layla's chest heaved, her throat raw with terror and grief. "No, don't you leave me." He turned to her then, his face a mask of fury and pain. "They're not just street soldiers," he said, voice low and venomous. "They knew our route. They knew the safe house." Layla froze, the weight of his words sinking like a blade. "You mean someone inside?" Levi snarled. "One of mine sold us out." Lightning cracked overhead, illuminating his eyes cold, blazing and filled with something she'd never seen before. A promise. A reckoning. The doorway stank of mold and rust, rain dripping from the awning above like a ticking clock. Layla pressed her back against the cold brick, her breath trembling as Levi scanned the alley. Gun raised, every muscle taut like steel wire. "They knew where we'd be," he muttered, low and hard, more to himself than to her. "Safe house, route, everything." Layla swallowed, her voice rasping. "You said." "Someone inside sold us out." Levi's jaw worked like a grinding gear. "Only 3 people knew our exact moves. Me, Tony." His voice faltered for half a beat, shadowed by something raw. "And Malak." "Who's Malak?" "My driver," Levi said, eyes slicing toward her like knives. "The one who put us in that kill zone." Layla's mind reeled. "You think he—" "I don't think," Levi cut her off. "I know." He gripped her arm, pulling her deeper into the abandoned building through a splintered door. The darkness swallowed them whole, just cracked walls, broken furniture, and a whisper of rats in the corners. Levi flicked on a small tactical light, its cold beam slicing through dust. He scanned the room, then pulled out a burner phone, fingers flying across the keypad. He put it to his ear, his voice flat. "Malik, status." A beat of silence. Then a crackle. "We got split, Levi. I'm trying to." Cut the act, Levi said, voice dropping to a lethal calm. You put us in that box. The line went dead. Layla's pulse spiked. He hung up. Levi's face didn't twitch. He slid the phone into his pocket and turned to her. That means he's running. He holstered his gun and started toward the back exit. Wait, Layla grabbed his arm. You can't just go after him alone. Levi turned, eyes sharp as broken glass. You think I'm leaving you here? Then what? Layla's voice cracked. We're just going to keep running until they kill us both. No. Levi's tone was iron. We stop running. We end this. Layla stared at him, her chest heaving, rainwater dripping down her temple. How? They have money, soldiers, power. They don't have this. Levi pulled a folded piece of paper from his jacket pocket, the same yellowed bank document he'd shown her at the safe house. Only this time, something else came with it. A small flash drive, scuffed and taped at the edges. What is that? She whispered. The ledger, Levi said simply. Layla blinked. I thought it was in a deposit box in New Orleans. Levi's mouth curved into something between a grin and a grimace. That's what they think. He crouched by an overturned chair, setting the flash drive in her palm. It felt heavier than it should have, like a key to a kingdom of ghosts. You said this was money, she murmured. Levi shook his head slowly. Money is just ink on paper. This is blood. Judges, cops, aldermen, every hand that's been greased since '94. They kill for this because if it leaks, the whole damn city burns. Layla's throat tightened. So why not leak it? Why not just give it to the cops? Levi's eyes locked on hers, hard as granite. Because the cops are in it. Hell, half the names on this list got shields on their chest. Layla stared at the flash drive, its edges biting into her skin. Every instinct screamed to throw it away, to vanish. But something colder, deeper, settled in her gut. If this was the truth, then her whole life, the father she hated, the city she thought she knew, was built on a lie. Before she could speak, a creak split the silence. Both their heads snapped toward the doorway. Shadows stretched long across the cracked floor as slow, deliberate footsteps echoed closer. Levi raised his gun, his body angled like a predator. Layla gripped the flash drive so tight her fingers ached. Then a voice slid through the darkness. Smooth, familiar. Levi, you always did like running to holes. A figure stepped into the beam of the tactical light. Broad shoulders, rain-slicked jacket. A face Layla recognized, not from the streets, but from her world. Her breath caught. Simone? Her best friend smiled, lips curling into something sharp as a blade. Hey, girl, Simone said softly. You've been real hard to find. For a moment, Layla thought her mind was lying to her. The rain, the gunfire, the pounding fear, maybe it was all twisting her vision. But no, the figure in the doorway, framed by the pale flicker of the tactical light, was real. Simone, her best friend since college. The one who stayed up all night when Layla's mother had her first stroke. The one who sent memes when Layla couldn't sleep. The one who, until 5 minutes ago, was supposed to be waiting for her at a bar for drinks. Now, Simone's smile was a blade. Simone. Layla's voice broke on her friend's name. What the hell are you doing here? Simone stepped closer, rainwater dripping from the edge of her leather jacket. In her hand, a gun gleamed black and merciless. Same thing as you, girl, she said softly. Trying to survive. Levi's arm shot out like a strike of lightning, his Glock aimed square at Simone's chest. Move another inch, and you don't survive this conversation. Simone laughed. Not the carefree laugh Layla knew, but something low and sharp, like broken glass sliding across steel. You really didn't tell her, huh? Simone tilted her head toward Levi, eyes glinting. What you did to me? Levi's jaw locked, but his aim didn't waver. That was 30 years ago. You were a kid. And now I'm grown, Simone hissed. Her eyes cut to Layla, shimmering with something darker than anger, betrayal, maybe hate. You want to know why your daddy's been running all these years? It wasn't just because he stole some ledger. It's because the man he left bleeding on 63rd Street was my father. The words slammed into Layla like a freight train. Her breath caught, her knees nearly buckled. What? Simone's voice cracked now, but her grip on the gun didn't shake. My daddy wasn't perfect, but he didn't deserve a bullet in the chest while his little girl watched from the damn car. Her eyes burned holes through Levi. And you, her voice sharpened to a blade, you thought you buried that night. But I've been digging, Levi. And when I saw her name on the accounts, she smiled cold. I knew blood would pay blood. Layla's hands trembled around the flash drive, the weight of every lie crushing her chest. Simone. Her voice was a whisper, breaking like glass. You used me. Simone's jaw tightened. I saved you for a while. Kept them from pulling the trigger the second they knew who you were. But you wouldn't stop digging. So now, she cocked the gun with a click that echoed like a death knell. Now you're leverage and a message. The room seemed to shrink. Rain pounded the cracked windows like fists. Levi's finger tightened on the trigger. Muscles coiled, eyes locked on Simone like two storms colliding. No, Layla said suddenly, voice slicing through the air. Both guns shifted toward her, twin barrels like staring eyes. Her chest heaved, tears streaking her face. But her hand didn't shake as she raised Levi's spare gun, the one she'd kept clenched since the alley. Layla, Levi's voice was gravel. Don't. I said drop them, both of you. Her voice cracked, raw and ragged, but loud enough to cut through the thunder in her head. You want to talk about blood? My life is drowning in it because of both of you. Simone's smile faltered, just for a flicker. You won't shoot me, girl. You ain't built for it. Layla's grip tightened. She remembered the man in the safe house, the weight of the gun when survival left no room for hesitation. Maybe she hadn't been built for this before, but now she didn't know what she was anymore. Try me, she said, the words shaking but sharp. The standoff stretched, seconds bleeding like hours. Then, somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed a hollow warning that this was the endgame. Simone's eyes flicked toward the sound. Fatal mistake. Levi moved like a shadow 2 shots, quick and merciless. Simone jerked back, the gun tumbling from her hand as her body crumpled against the wall. Layla's scream ripped from her throat, raw and shattering, as Levi caught her before she collapsed. She pounded his chest with her fists, sobbing. You didn't have to. Yes, I did, Levi said, his voice breaking like thunder over gravel. He held her tight, his breath ragged. Because if I didn't, you'd be lying next to her. Layla sank to her knees, the flash drive clutched like a curse in her shaking hand. Rain drummed against the broken roof, sirens screaming closer, their blue lights flickering in the distance. Now what? She whispered, hollow. Levi crouched, his hand curling gently over hers, the flash drive trapped between their palms. His eyes fierce, haunted burned into hers. No, we burn it all, he said. Every name, every lie. We make them choke on their own secrets. Layla stared at the tiny piece of plastic in her hand, the key to a kingdom built on blood. The weight of her choices pressed down like a storm. But for the first time since this nightmare began, she felt something steady beneath the fear. Resolve. She wiped her tears, rose to her feet, and slid the flash drive into her pocket as the wail of sirens drew near. The city had swallowed her in lies, but tonight? Tonight, Layla Monroe was done running, and Chicago was about to burn. What you just heard wasn't the full story. It was the part someone tried to bury, the part that didn't fit the headline, the part where a person, not a suspect, was lost in the process. This case showed us what happens when the system moves too fast, or not at all, when suspicion weighs more than truth, when justice shows up late or never. But here's the thing. If these stories don't leave us asking questions, they'll keep repeating with different names. So if this one meant something to you, don't just move on. Talk about it, question it, pass it on. Because silence protects the wrong side of history. And sometimes the only thing standing between truth and erasure is someone who chooses to care. Like, share, comment. Let the next chapter begin with awareness, not regret.